and welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Mac and Griff. I'm Griffin Senek, joined by my co-host, Mac Rommel, and today we have a very special guest, a fellow Bruce Beck Sports Broadcasting Camp member, one of our good friends. We met him the first year we did the camp. We've been close with him since, and, he's another guy that's, working hard, trying to get his early reps in, and, good friend of ours, so we decided to have him on today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Gerard Garofolo, baby. Gerard, how are you today?
Thanks for having me today.
Of course, man. So I guess we'll just dive right into this. I mean,
Yep.
I know you're a big Yankees guy, so I might have to, we've been talking a lot of football, but I do want to touch on the baseball here. Yankees obviously lose a heartbreaker 2-1 last night to the Tampa Bay Rays. Mike Brousseau hitting the game-winning home run in the eighth. Gerard, I'll just start with you. What are your early thoughts on the game? What did you see that you liked and maybe what you didn't like so much?
Well, last night, I really liked the way Gerrit Cole pitched, only giving up 2 hits. He really came out and showed that he was an ace pitcher and can pitch in the playoffs. I really thought Aaron Judge was going to come out and have a big game last night. That was my prediction. I thought the Yankees were going to come out and win 6-3, but that did not happen. I don't agree with Boone's decision in going to Britton in the 5th and then Chapman to get 7 outs. Aroldis Chapman cannot blame it on a buzzer this year, but in the years past, in 2016, 19, and 20, he's given up big home runs, so he's got to figure that out. Mike Brousseau, he deserves all the credit in the world. He got a pitch thrown at his head earlier in the season, came back, hit a home run off Chapman. It was a good game. The Rays are the best team in the American League East. That's my prediction for the World Series, Rays Dodgers, and I think the Dodgers will get it done.
I like that prediction. I think, it really is karma almost for Aroldis Chapman. He threw that pitch at his head, and, there's a certain level of degree, I think, with, throwing at someone, and throwing 101 at someone's head really is not acceptable. So I was personally happy, especially as a Mets fan, to see Mike Brousseau get a taste of revenge there. I want to flip this one back to you here, Gerard. Obviously, Game 2 was another controversial game. Aaron Boone goes for Debbie Garcia for 1 inning and then brings in J.A. Happ, which is a little controversial, trying to work out get some of the lefties in the lineup so he could match him up with Happ. I want to ask you, what did you think about this decision, and do you think this potentially could have been a series-costing decision potentially?
I do think that was a series-costing decision. The Yankees tried to play Rays baseball rather than playing Yankees baseball. I think that if you would have gone either Happ to start or Debbie Garcia to start, you would have gotten 5 innings out of them, probably 3 or 4 runs. And the Yankees, as they've shown, can put up runs. So if you would have stayed with Happ or Debbie, I feel like you would have had a better chance to win that game. And then you wouldn't have to go battle back from 2-1 down the series, rather than you would have been up 2-1 in the series, or you would have been up 2-0 in the series at that time.
Yeah.
And you could have finished it in 3 or 4 games, but you never know.
Yeah, definitely a tough one. Mac, what do you got to say on this?
I mean, the Yankees team, really everyone thought they're going to go to the World Series this year. They battled through a lot of injuries. But then after playing the Tampa Bay Rays, of course, they didn't play great, especially last night. As you said, before we even came on, before Gerard came here, you said once Gerrit Cole came out, you weren't sure how they were going to be able to fare, and they didn't fare well. They ended up losing that game. It was a tough loss, and as you said, Gerard thought Aaron Judge was going to have a big game. I thought he was too. So just to see an overall team loss like that, I thought they were going to score way more points. Stanton looked fairly well thus far in the playoffs. So there's a lot of things that the Yankees could have done better. They just weren't able to execute, and that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, I think you look at that lineup right now, and guys like Luke Voigt, Gio Scheller, who have been so good during the regular season, they just weren't able to get the job done. And I think that, credit's due to the Rays pitching. They got a fantastic bullpen staff. They've got so many guys. I mean, you've heard Kevin Cash say it. We've got a stable of guys that throw 98 and out there. And I think that's true. I mean, you look at the Rays pitching, they really got it done last night. I guess talking about the future now for the Yankees, Gerard, what do you think the Yankees have to do this offseason? Obviously, DJ LeMahieu, James Paxton, and Masahiro Tanaka all set to hit free agency. So what do you think is what do you think the Yankees have to do to stay in this and even make themselves, I guess now they're not even the top dog in the AL, so put themselves over a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, I guess?
Well, one thing that I think the Yankees need to do is it's key and crucial that you get back DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu had the highest batting average in the AL this year. He's the first player to do that in both leagues, and he's a crucial fielder. So if you get back DJ LeMahieu and get back one of Paxton or Tanaka, and I think Paxton's going to go for a one-year deal, whether it's with the Yankees or with someone else because he's going to prove it, you got to get one of them back. Then I would like you to hit on one of the big free agent pitchers, maybe like Trevor Bauer. So if you get one of them, I think you can cement yourself as the top dog again in the AL, and you need your players to not get all hurt this year.
Yeah, I mean, those injuries definitely cost him in the regular season, especially the one of Luis Severino. I mean, you got to think maybe if they had Sevy, this series could have been different, but he was obviously gone for the year. But the Yankees, I mean, they can't really make too much injury excuses. Obviously, they battled through the regular season, but in the playoffs, the team was pretty healthy. I mean, that's almost one of the top teams they'll send out there. So definitely a heartbreaking loss for the Yankees. Well, I guess we'll give, I was going to move on, but we do have two great championship series. Obviously, the Houston Astros trying to prove everyone wrong versus Tampa Bay Rays. And then we got the Dodgers and the Braves. So, Gerard, I know you already said your World Series matchup is going to be Rays-Dodgers. Mac, what do you think your prediction for the World Series is? Who do you got winning these two championship series?
So right now, I am probably going to have to agree with Gerard. Outside the Yankees, they're one of the top dogs. Well, the Dodgers right now are one of the top dogs in the MLB, and they have been that for the past few years. I don't think they're going to let anyone down. I think they're just going to go on another run this year. Definitely going to win it again. And hopefully next year it'll be the Yankees' year, but right now it's going to be the Dodgers once again.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Dodgers are the team to beat. I just don't think the Braves pitching is quite going to be able to contain that lineup. We have seen them pitch fairly well in the playoffs, but they've played the Miami Marlins. So I'm not really going to take that into account. That they aren't the Dodgers. So I agree with you boys. I think we're going to see a Rays-Dodgers World Series, and it should be a fun one to see. And, we'll see what happens. But, tough loss for the Yankees, both New York sports teams, obviously going into the offseason with big aspirations now that the Mets have their new owner, Steve Cohen. Well, that does it for our MLB talk. I guess we can even jump to the NBA for a little bit. The NBA Finals, we saw Game 5 last night. The Los Angeles Lakers lost a very close one to the Miami Heat, losing, I believe, 111 to 108. I could be mistaken. LeBron James with a 40-point effort, but it could not match Jimmy Butler's 30-plus point triple-double again. Gerard, early thoughts on Game 5, and could the Heat maybe make a comeback here? Could they storm back?
Well, I really think the Heat can make a comeback here because last night at the end of the game, you saw that Anthony Davis is really struggling to get up and down the court. If Anthony Davis is out of this series, that's a complete game changer because Bam Adebayo will just start to feast. I also disagree with LeBron James' decision. You have been one of the greatest players in the world, if not the greatest player of all time, for the last 10 years. You have to take that shot rather than putting it in your teammate's hand. Yes, he made the right basketball move, but I think you got to just go for that shot and finish it.
Mac, what do you think about that?
Yep, I totally agree with you. And I do think the Heat do have a chance to come back and potentially win this series and win the NBA Finals. We've seen ever since Game 2, they lost those two games, of course, and they weren't super close. Game 1, the Lakers won 116 to 98. In Game 2, the Lakers won 124 to 114. But since then, even in that one loss in Game 4, they've kept it closer and only lost by 6. And then they won Game 3 by 11, and then they won last night by 3. I, of course, see them potentially at least getting this next win. I'm not sure how Game 7 will play out, but I do think they do have a good shot with Jimmy Butler. And, of course, as Gerard said, Anthony Davis was really a non-factor towards the end of that game last night.
Yeah, you look at some of the costly mistakes. Danny Green obviously has not been very good this series, continued that on that shot. And then Markieff Morris, that's a mistake. He threw the ball straight out of bounds. Can't be doing that in Game 5 of the NBA Finals. And I agree. I feel like this game, the series is now kind of in anyone's hands. The Heat, it really have shown Jimmy Butler is a superstar. He's proved that this season, and especially in the bubble and in this series. He's playing spectacular. And, you look at their young guys like Tyler Harrow, Duncan Robinson, they're getting it done. So I feel like this could become a really, really interesting series here. I think a Game 7 would be kind of really entertaining, and it's kind of what this series and almost the league needs. You've heard the ratings are down a little bit. People aren't as interested. Thursday Night Football is doing laps around the NBA right now. So maybe a good game 7 and a good game 6 here, I guess, would be really needed for the NBA just to have a really entertaining finish to this wild season that they've had.
Yep, of course, NBA Finals, a lot going on there. We're going to have to see who takes these next 2 games. But tomorrow, we have some NFL football coming. And I'm not sure where you want to start off with this. You want to start off with some fantasy players we like, don't like in fantasy?
Yeah, let's do that. Gerard, we'll start with you, I guess. You got any fantasy guys that could be on the border, or even just someone you think is going to have a huge week this week?
Well, if you're starting the Arizona Cardinals team next week, I think you got a good shot at winning. They're playing the Jets. I think that DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, and David Johnson will all go for 20-plus point performances, and I really think they're going to break out. Another person that I'd like to look at is Russell Wilson. Although he's been the number 1 quarterback all year, I think that he's going to even more explode tomorrow against the Minnesota's lack of defense and their cornerbacks. So looking at Russell Wilson, you'll probably get big games from Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. One person that I think might regress tomorrow is Dak Prescott. That Giants defense has looked good this year, and I think the D-line will pressure him, and they'll try to get the run game going so Zeke will get more carries and touches than Dak will do throwing the ball.
Damn, you got to do my Dak like that, my Dak boo. Yeah, I think Amari will probably not – they got James Bradbury over there doing his thing this year, playing great. So Amari Cooper may not have the best of games, but I'm looking at players like CeeDee Lamb to have some good games there. But some players I'm liking this week, I'm going to start off with a guy who's been playing really well the past few weeks, and that's Justin Jefferson. He's playing the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks are now also without Jamal Adams. He's been out the past few weeks. And they've had one of the worst secondaries right now in defenses just due to their injuries, the amount of injuries. And their secondary has been giving up a lot of points. And specifically, they're one of the top-ranked teams. They give up some of the most points to wide receivers. So Justin Jefferson's in for another big game. Him and Adam Thielen are great. He's going to be due for a big game this week. And then another player, a quarterback, and that's Teddy Bridgewater. They're playing the Atlanta Falcons. We've seen what the Falcons been doing. Haven't been great defensively, especially. They're without Julio Jones on offense, but defensively, outside of Deion Jones, really no one there has been making a consistent impact there on defense. So this is a big game for Teddy Bridgewater, who has Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore there to help him out.
I'm going to go to the Houston Texans, and I'm going to pick the combination of Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller. I think playing the Jags, obviously, they have some solid corners there, but I just don't feel like they're going to be able to get the job done necessarily. We've seen a few lackluster performances from them these past few weeks. So I'm going to give Will Fuller a big game. Brandon Cooks has not really panned out like I expected he would, and I think Will Fuller has really cemented himself as the one on that team. So I'm going to have him as a big day. And a guy to look out for is David Johnson. I feel like he's a guy that has not had the best start to the year. They obviously fired Bill O'Brien, which we'll most likely get to in a bit. But I think maybe David Johnson could be in for a big game against that Jacksonville defense that, isn't superb, but maybe David Johnson can get some goal line looks or just have some nice holes. But that offensive line has been terrible for him this year, and the return of Duke Johnson isn't in his favor either. So he's a guy for the future, maybe not, but this week I like David Johnson. Well, I guess we'll go back in time a little bit to week 4 of the NFL season. We saw a lot of solid football here. And one game I wanted to look at, the first game, is going to be involving Mac's Dallas Cowboys. The Cleveland Browns win this on 49-38, a terrible defensive effort from the Dallas Cowboys, who look terrible, 1-3, offensively great, but that defense has really been an issue. Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, who's even throwing touchdowns, Kareem Hunt, they didn't need Nick Chubb. Dearness Johnson looked like a superstar. I mean, it just looked bad. Mac, we're obviously going to start with you for this one. What are you thinking here?
This is for sure a tough one to watch. And then you always get that false hope at the end of the game. Maybe we'll come back and then end up working out this week like it did with the Falcons. But my Cowboys did not look good. I'm going to start off on the offense where they did look pretty well. Start of the first half, still with the fumbles. You're not able to fix the fumbles, and that's costing you, and especially the points from those fumbles and all these turnovers. That's what's really hurting you. you're not just fumbling them like in a spot where it'll kind of put the Browns in a bad position. You're fumbling the ball on your side of the field. You're at like the 30-yard line. You're fumbling the ball. You're really just giving them. You're literally just from that. You're giving them a field goal, and then they're already close to getting a touchdown. That's too bad. You can't be doing that, especially with the defense. You've seen what our defense has done. Nothing. They can't stop anyone. So obviously they're going to get points off that. That's the main thing I feel. So if you can fix the turnovers, those stupid fumbles, and Dak, the interceptions are kind of in garbage time, so they don't really matter. But those fumbles, you got to fix those fumbles, and that's more of a mindset thing. And that's really going to lead me to the point that Mike McCarthy and this coaching staff really isn't holding the players accountable. We kind of see, especially, I don't know if you guys saw that Xavier Woods quote where he's like, you don't expect players to go full speed for 70 plays a game. You can't say that. Sure, I saw this on ESPN. I forgot who said it exactly, but they said, of course, players are not going to play full speed for all 70 plays of the game, but you don't go out and say that. So that's the main thing. What is Mike McCarthy doing in the locker room that's holding these players accountable for what they have to do? But defensively, that's really where things are bad. You're giving up way, way, way too many yards, especially in the run game. Nick Chubb went out early, and then you're letting Kareem Hunt go off. Just absolutely go off. All these players are going off. And even OBJ, you saw him with that big run at the end of the game to seal it after that squib kick. I don't even know why they kicked that. But that was just stupid. The Cowboys defense needs a lot of help. But one thing, just to point out real quick, we didn't give up a lot of points versus the Rams week 1. And that's when everyone was healthy. So could this just be an injury thing and it kind of the players work better together when they're all healthy? Maybe. But we're going to have to see when those players come back in the next few weeks, and hopefully they get turn some things around.
Yeah, I mean, I just with the Dallas Cowboys right now, it just looks defensively like they're in shambles. They're just nothing's going well. And I think, the Browns do have a very solid offensive line, but you look at their guys and they're just not getting sacks. I mean, they had 2 sacks this game. And a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence, you're paying all that money for, he's not really doing too much this year. And that's a big issue. You got to have big pressure off that D-line, especially when that's really the focus of this defense. The defense is invested in that defensive line. All their money is there. And Jerry Jones really didn't pay much attention to the secondary. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. It's just abysmal. I mean, everyone is torching this team. We saw Russell Wilson absolutely demolish this team. We saw Matt Ryan absolutely demolish this team. And now we've seen Baker Mayfield not as demolishing them as them, but the run game demolished them. I mean, every aspect of offense right now is killing this Cowboys defense. They can't stop anything. And it's just bad coaching. I think there's bad players on this defense. I mean, this is what happens when you put all your marbles on the offense. And right now the offense is, I'm starting to get worried about this offense eventually because Tyron Smith now is out for the season. Guys like that are slowly falling on the O-line, and the O-line is very high paid, I believe. And if that falls down, I mean, and you're not giving Dak time, I mean, that's literally the whole – if Dak can't succeed, the team is going to not win a game for the season. I mean, that's the crazy thing. If this offense plays bad, the game's over. I mean, that's really the truth of it. Gerard, what do you think about the Cowboys, man?
So I'm loving how the Cowboys are playing. Not loving how the Giants are playing. But the Cowboys, I think a big problem with the Cowboys is that they are having a lot of injuries. Leighton Vander Esch got hurt week 1, who's a huge part of their defense. And one play in particular that I'd really like to point out in the Cowboys' effort is that Odell Beckham Jr. run. You just got a touchdown. You're back in the game. You need to stop. Odell ran about 15, 20 yards backwards to go 60 yards forwards. Somebody's got to step up there. Maybe Everson Griffin or veteran Jalen Smith has to step up there and be like, I'm going to make this tackle. I'm going to make a play for my team. The Cowboys need one player to just lead them and make a play. On the offensive side of the ball, I think they're really in trouble. They're missing their 2 tackles, La'el Collins and Tyron Smith. And they're missing their center, who they're starting a rookie center this week, right? I think.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be issues. And even as bad as the Giants are, I think the Giants are going to make them struggle in the front 7, and their secondary may be able to lock it down. So this could be this week could go 2 ways for the Cowboys. This week could be a rout of the Giants where they get back on track, or they could let the Giants hang around, maybe only win by a few points or even possibly lose the game and have the season completely go into the dumpster and make the season a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where the state of the Dallas Cowboys is right now. It's kind of crazy, but that's what happens, I guess, when you invest all your marbles in the offense. And you've seen teams defense wins championships. Well, Cowboys are seeing if offense can, and so far, it's not looking too great. Mac, what game do you want to talk about next from Week 4?
All right, it's gonna be a pretty good one, and let's talk about that Patriots and Chiefs game. That was pretty entertaining. You saw Patrick Mahomes going against Brian Hoyer and Jared Stidham. They weren't able to do much, the Patriots, offensively. Well, especially with Brian Hoyer. Jared Stidham was kind of starting to do some things, but ended up not being great. How do you think the Patriots are going to be able to stand without Cam Newton this week? And what are you seeing for these backup quarterbacks, especially Jared Stidham, who was questioned? He was possibly going to be the starter this year. Cam Newton obviously won that job, but what did you see from these quarterbacks?
Well, it was just kind of a lackluster effort, and I don't really think there's much more to say than that. I mean, you kind of look at the stats, and you know, the Chiefs defense did stop Lamar Jackson, but still, 15 for 24, 130 yards and a pick for Hoyer, and then Stidham 5 for 13, 60 yards, touchdown, and 2 interceptions. One was not his fault. One was a drop by Edelman, but still, not really a great performance from either of those guys. The only guy I really loved on this offense was Damian Harris. I mean, that guy had 17 rushes for 100 yards. That guy was tearing it up. We've heard really good things about him from the Pats, so it really looks like they like him. They're using him a lot, and that running back core is really going to be the chance they have. I mean, using James White in the passing game, Rex Burkhead. I like to call him Sexy Rexy. That guy's a stud. He does, pass, run. He can do it a little bit of everything. And then Dame Harris on the ground game. I think it's really interesting to see what they're going to do there. They obviously play a Broncos team that is kind of in shambles a little bit too. So I don't know. I don't know if these guys can get it done though. I mean, you really see what taking Cam out of there does. The quarterback situation is not great. Doesn't look like Stidham is the answer. So I don't know. Gerard, what are you thinking?
So with the Patriots game, I think that you had to expect that you weren't going to get great quarterback play, right? And I'm going to flip it over to the other side. I think that their defense really stepped up to the occasion, stopping Patrick Mahomes and keeping them to, I think it was only 20 points in offense because their defense got a touchdown.
Yeah.
So they kept Patrick Mahomes contained and they gave their team a chance to win. It's also, you can't grade this week on their performance because Cam Newton contracted the virus on Thursday rather than like Monday or Tuesday where they could have a whole week to prepare. They were preparing with Cam Newton for a Sunday game. He contracted the virus. They're out of the facilities for a day or two, and then they had to go into a game with Brian Hoyer starting. So I think the Patriots should not panic. They should just keep on course, wait till they get Cam Newton back, try to get a win this weekend, and I think the Patriots will be fine. I think the Patriots will be the 5 or 6 seed in the playoffs, and I think the Patriots have a shot this year.
Yep, I totally agree with you there. As you said, only holding the Patriots and Patrick Mahomes to 20 points, that's big. That's big. Even the Patriots defense with all those opt-outs, and they're still able to hold Patrick Mahomes to only 20 points and 236 yards too, because any defense for Patrick Mahomes just seems like a little. So really good effort by the Patriots defense. Hopefully they can get a little bit more out of those quarterbacks this week.
For sure. Well, I guess, I think those are kind of the main games from that and the main storylines, but I'm going to take us to a big storyline from last week. We saw 2 superstar running backs go down with injuries. They're both on injured reserve now, and that is Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler. Obviously, the Browns are probably in a pretty solid. They'll be okay. They got, obviously, Kareem Hunt back there, who has been a superstar. I think he's a top 5 fantasy running back while Chubb is out for sure. So, make sure to trade for him if you can get him for the right price. But the Eckler injury is big. We're going to see a little split between Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson. So I guess, yeah, that's what I'll ask. Gerard, what do you think the impact the Austin Eckler and I guess the Nick Chubb injury will have on the team, specifically the Chargers? And do you think the duo of Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly can combine enough to replace Austin Eckler?
Well, I don't think it can combine enough to replace Austin Eckler. Joshua Kelly has gotten a lot of touches in the last few weeks, And he's a proven running back too that can step up to the occasion when needed. But I think it's really going to affect the play of Justin Herbert more than it's going to affect the play of the offense. Justin Herbert's so used to just having Austin Eckler back there where he can check it down or he can go through his reads and have a trustworthy running back that can get him 5-10 yards. And I don't know if you get that out of Joshua Kelly. So I'd really like to see how Justin Herbert plays this week against a good team in New Orleans without Austin Eckler and using Josh Kelly with his checkdowns. And I think that someone like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams really have to step up and be like, I'm the leader of this offense. Get me the ball.
Totally agree with you there. And also with Joshua Kelly, you saw his first game, he averaged 0.8 yards per carry on 9 carries. And then week 2, he averaged 5.4 on 8. But the main thing is, this is the week 3, when he had a major role in that offense, had 23 carries, and then he averaged 2.8 yards per carry. So could we see, is he maybe getting worn down in these games when he gets the ball a lot? Or is he going to be able to do what Austin Eckler does and produce at a high level throughout all these games? And I'm not sure what's going to happen because you saw he was inconsistent with a low amount of carries. And then the moment he had a lot of carries, dropped right back down. And then last week, of course, he had 12 carries, 5.0 yards per carry on 60 yards. But there's no way you're running the ball over 20 times and you're going to play well. I don't think Joshua Kelly's going to be able to do that. And I think you're going to have to compliment him and Justin Jackson there if you want to have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Eckler injury is definitely a lot worse than Chubb one, just off the fact that he is a superstar. And in that offense, they really don't have a replacement for him. Like I said, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, at one point was one of the best running backs in the league. And I think he's even still showing that he probably is one of the top running backs. He's just a backup, which is kind of crazy, obviously, because of all the assault allegations that he had that put him there. But yeah, I'm a little worried about Joshua Kelly. I mean, we saw Eckler kind of have a split role a little bit with him, but he started to command that in these last few weeks. It seems like maybe they're just easing him in, making sure that he's healthy, good to go. And it sucks for Austin Eckler and this Chargers team. I mean, Justin Herbert, I feel like really liked Austin Eckler, had him as a guy to throw to. So we'll have to see if Justin Jackson, because he's usually the passing down back, if he can replace him. But it's going to be interesting to see Justin Herbert. Can he lead this team? They haven't played too well. It's always been a team, the Chargers, that, have a stacked roster, but there's always like one injury, like Derwin James seems to always get hurt every year. And it just seems like they can never string together these wins. So we'll see what they can do this week, but I've liked what I've seen from Herbert. So hopefully he can step up, get the ball to, his solid receivers, even Hunter Henry, get him involved a little more and see what happens.
Yep, I agree with you there. And then I guess I'll quickly touch upon the Browns situation and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's obviously going to be the starter for the next few weeks or for the foreseeable future. And he's played great. He's only had one game where he averaged 2.9 yards per carry, but the next closest to that is 5.5 yards per carry. So he's shown he could still handle the workload and play at a high level, averaging really high yards per carry. He had an average of 5.5, 8.6, 2.9, then last week, 6.5 versus the Dallas Cowboys. And he's producing touchdowns too, 2 last week and then 1 week 2. He's a really good option for you guys in fantasy. So try and trade for him, anything like that. I know I'm trying to get him in one of my leagues, so we're going to have to see how that works. But he is going to be a workhorse the next few weeks, and you can expect him to have a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, Gerard, what do you think of the Kareem Hunt situation in Cleveland?
I think that the Browns probably have the best situation right now in the NFL with their backup running back. Kareem Hunt's going to come in. They're not going to have to change the offense at all. They're going to just make him a workhorse. He's going to pound the rock. They're going to still throw it to Odell Beckham. They're going to still throw it to Austin Hooper. They're going to still throw it to Jarvis Landry. They're going to still throw it to David Njoku, who's coming back this week. And the Browns, I don't think the Browns are going to miss a step. I think the Browns will be fine without Nick Chubb. And then when Nick Chubb comes back, it'll just be another bonus to the offense. And rather than having to rush him back, you have that fallback plan of Kareem Hunt can go here.
I love that idea as well. I think Nick Chubb, he's really in a great spot because I don't think there's any reason, unless obviously you're in a tighter spot with the playoffs when he's scheduled to come back. But if they're like doing pretty well and playing how they are, I mean, there's really no reason to rush him back. I mean, get him to full strength and, if this team makes a playoff run, I feel like this team could be up there with just as much as anyone. I mean, you see Myles Garrett is playing superstar at the superstar level that he is, but, we'll focus on that when we get to the Browns. But I guess that will take us to, well, not our weekly projections yet, because we did have some Thursday night football, a rematch of Super Bowl. What was the Super Bowl? Was it 50, 52, 53, 50?
I always get the numbers wrong, so
Not sure. Well,
you
we
there.
saw a rematch of Nick Foles and Tom Brady, with Nick Foles coming out again, kind of a shocker. I mean, we saw a little controversy at the end there. I wasn't necessarily watching, but I feel like I heard Brady was, made a stupid throw on 4th down. He thought it was 3rd down maybe, but
Yeah,
Gerard,
he was trying to call a timeout after. Well, Nick Foles, he was trying to call a timeout after. No, excuse me. Never mind. I'm getting this wrong. I was thinking I don't know why I was thinking the Patriots game in Brian Hoyer.
Okay. So yeah, Gerard, we'll start with you. What are your major takeaways from either side of the ball here from this Thursday night battle between the Bucs and the Bears?
I'm really impressed with the Bears defense. So the Bears gave up 13 points in the first half. They were down 13-0 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. They come back, they take the lead. It's 14-13 going into halftime. The Bears defense manages to give up 6 points in the second half to an offense that is absolutely stacked. And Tom Brady got the ball back with about a minute to play, and the Bears defense still held strong and didn't let him get into field goal range. That just shows that this defense is very elite, which I think we already knew, and that they can go far. I also would like to touch on the point that Nick Foles is definitely the option for the Bears to go. He did not play a phenomenal game, but he played a good enough game to get the job done, where Mitch Trubisky, I don't think Mitch Trubisky could have done that. Nick Foles got the ball back with 4 minutes, drove him down the field, got a field goal, put the defense back on the field, and the defense got to stop. It was nice team football, and the Bears came out with a good win, and they can go. And I think the Bears are proving people wrong, and they can go far this year.
Yep, I have to agree with you there. And the Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky statement, as you said, you think Nick Foles is the way to go. And some of those drives you see, I don't think Mitch Trubisky has any way that he could do it, and that's kind of going to lead me to this next point of that. Mitch Trubisky just doesn't seem like a leader. I feel having a leader like Nick Foles just each and every play is going to help you win these games. You're able to see teams like the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's a leader, and he really gets the team and the fans to feel like there's still a chance to win the game at any point in the game, and that's kind of what you're seeing from Nick Foles and some of these drives. But Nick Foles, of course, he had 243 yards, a touchdown, and interception. The running game for them really didn't do much at all. 10 carries, 29 yards for David Montgomery. Wasn't great, but you see Allen Robinson, someone I wasn't high on coming into this year, and then he's proved me wrong. He played great again, 10 receptions and 90 yards, just playing absolutely amazing. But on the other side, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as Gerard said, 13 points in the first half, 6 in the second half. That blows my mind. You're giving up a decent amount of points in the first half, but holding that offense to 6 points in one half is just beyond me. Of course, you didn't have Chris Godwin, so that kind of play a little bit of a factor into it. But nonetheless, great by the Bears defense and great by Nick Foles to help lead the Bears to a nice team win.
Yeah, I completely agree with the both of you. I think the Bears defense really stepped up. The first half, it really didn't look good for the Bears. They were, like Gerard said, they were down 13-0, and all of a sudden they're winning at halftime. So that was pretty good to see from the Bears. And a few things I'll touch on the Bucs offense. Ronald Jones, we haven't mentioned him yet. He had a great game, 17 rushes, 106 yards. We've heard Bruce Arians rave about the kid, and it's really good to see that he is doing well. And against a really solid defense, he played pretty well. He's probably the best offensive player. Another thing I want to touch on, Mike Evans might be the greatest player at the 1 or 2 yard line I've ever seen in my life. I mean, this guy, I have him in fantasy, and I mean, I swear to God, if they're at the 1 or 2 yard line, I don't understand why the whole defense just doesn't go on Mike Evans. Like, it is pretty incredible. I mean, you see Brady just look at him instantly, just throw him the ball. I mean, it's so funny. But that said, I do feel like Tom Brady should have tried to work Mike Evans into the offense a little bit more. 5 catches, 41 yards. When a guy like a Chris Godwin is out and O.J. Howard obviously is down, Leonard Fournette really wasn't able to do too much. You got to get Mike Evans the ball in this case. And I think in the second half, he was being guarded by Kyle Fuller, I believe. It's Mike Evans. He was running good routes. He saw Brady miss on that deep ball to him, a little underthrown there. But, these are things that the Bucs will work on. I think, it's still early in the season. 3-2 is not a bad spot. The Saints have not gotten off to the start they've wanted to. So, this division is kind of open right now. So maybe even the Panthers could make a run. But Chicago Bears 4-1, pretty impressive. I didn't think they'd be 4-1 at all. So we'll have to see what the future holds for these guys.
Yep, of course. And then I guess the next game we could talk about leading into our first match from first prediction. And that's the Jaguars at the Texans. They got two quarterbacks. One is the quarterback of the future for the Texans, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And then you have Minshew for the Jaguars, who right now is looking like he's the future of the Jaguars organization. I don't think they need a quarterback in this draft like a lot of people are thinking, and this is going to be a great game. What are you thinking?
I'm going to take the Texans here. I just think the Jags are not there in regards to being on the level of the Texans, obviously. The Texans did fire Bill O'Brien, which you haven't touched on, so it will be interesting to see what happens there in Houston. Obviously, they apparently had a huge altercation with J.J. Watt, so it'll be interesting to see. But I don't know. I think the Texans will get their first one of the season. It's kind of crazy. They're 0-4, but I just feel like we will see a solid game from them. I feel like all around, just this to me is just a Texans win. I don't really have too much to say. I just don't think the Jags are going to be able to play on the same level as the Texans today.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Griffin on this one. I think the Texans are going to get a win, but I think it will be a close game. I think Minshew will come out, have a good game. James Robinson will continue to play well, but the Jaguars are not going to have an answer for Deshaun Watson, and I don't think they're going to have an answer for J.J. Watt either. I think the Texans win a close one.
I'm going to have to disagree with you guys on this one. I know it's going to be a close game, of course, but I'm just going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just think there's a slightly better team than the Houston Texans right now, just due to the fact, and this kind of main thing that's made me to choose the Jaguars this week, and that's the firing of Bill O'Brien. How is the team going to work with a new coach, Romeo Crennel, who now he's not just the defensive coordinator, and he doesn't just have to look over that defense, but now offensively, what is he going to be able to do? Is he changing anything up that Bill O'Brien did, or are they going to continue playing the same this year until he kind of institutes his own principles into this team? But the Jaguars, they do have some good players questionable, like C.J. Henderson. So that could be kind of a game changer depending on if he plays or if he doesn't play. But Minshew has played great. You have James Robinson, DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault. You got a bunch of guys offensively that can get it done. And I guess a Houston Texans team that really has been great in the passing offense, just due to the fact of their lack of a star receiver. I'm not sure how the Texans will be able to put up points offensively.
I think, just adding on to your point before we move on, I feel like the Texans won't – their offense really hasn't been superb under Bill O'Brien, and I think the players kind of had a disconnect with him this season, so I feel like it might actually be better. We'll see what happens, though. I feel like I don't think I don't know the interim's name, but I feel like the offensive coordinator we'll call the offense and the plays mostly, but it'll be interesting to see. I got the Texans. Gerard's got the Texans. Mac going with a little Jaguars there. Yeah. Ravens Bengals. This one for me is my chalk of the week, as I started saying last week. For me, this is chalk. I'm going to pick the Ravens here. This is just Lamar Jackson. We've heard, he's had some knee or stomach issues, but he says on Friday it was said he's 100% ready to go, and I think the Ravens are ready to go, and I just don't think the Bengals are quite there yet, so I'm going to take the Ravens here.
Yeah, I see no way the Bengals can win this game. I think the Ravens' offense is too good. I would like to see, though, a big week out of Joe Mixon again, and I would like to see I can't think of his name right now. The quarterback of the Bengals.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, yeah. Sorry. Joe Burrow continue to improve and continue to put up good numbers.
Yep, Ravens gonna give him a clean sweep here, unless Trace McSorley was starting. But right now, it's got to be the Ravens for sure.
That would be a fun one if we see some Trace McSorley action. I have reached out. We'll see if maybe we get him on the pod. You never know. Yeah. There could be. There's always a hope. Panthers Falcons, and this is an interesting game for me. Julio Jones, I'm not 100% sure on his status, to be honest. I don't know how much he practiced this week. So if he's not good to go, I think the Panthers actually, regardless, might honestly win this game. Panthers have played really solid football. I believe they're 2-2. Falcons are 0-4. And this Atlanta Falcons defense has been terrible. And I think we're going to see Mike Davis light this team up again, as he's been doing. He's been playing great. And Teddy Bridgewater has really found a strong connection with Robbie Anderson. And I feel like this could be the week we see DJ Moore maybe break out of his shell a little bit and have that kind of breakout game he's been looking for. So I'm going to go Panthers here.
Yeah, I think the Falcons offense continues to play well this week, and they continue to give their defense a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, but then blow the lead again. I think the Panthers come back, a late Teddy Bridgewater drive, touchdown to DJ Moore. Panthers win this one, a close one. And I'd also like to see Mike Davis continue to play the role of CMC and play big. Come up big.
I'm going to agree with both of you there. Panthers should be able to get a win. And honestly, I think there are two outcomes of this game, but one is way more likely than the other. And that's the Panthers win a close one or the Falcons blow the Panthers out. But I'm not seeing the Falcons blowing the Panthers out. And I'm thinking it's going to be a close one. Panthers should be able to get it done. Mike Davis has been playing great. Robbie Anderson has been playing great. And as you said, maybe DJ Moore can break out of his shell this week and have a big game for the Panthers.
For sure. Chiefs, Raiders. Me and Mac were big on the Raiders after week 2, I believe, when they were 2-0, but they've lost both games since. They've obviously played the Buffalo Bills and then the Pats. But this, to me, is another one that they're not going to be able to quite catch up to. They'll be playing the Chiefs in Kansas City, and to me, that is just not going to be it for them. So I'm going to give the Chiefs a 10-point W or so here. I feel like the Chiefs will get the job done.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by this Raider team. They've been looking really well on the offensive side of the ball. The defense needs a little bit of improvement, but the offense has been looking good. I think the Chiefs will win this one, but I think it'll be closer than a lot of people expect. I got the Chiefs by 7 in this game.
I'm going to agree with you guys. So let's make it a clean sweep of the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, he was held to something less than what we normally see last week. He's going to pick that back up this week. The Raiders have a lot of talent. Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs offensively. They have some good players there. It's going to be a close one, but I got to take the Chiefs in this, and I think it is going to be a close game just due to the fact that they're division rivals.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like it'll be a little closer than people think. And, Chiefs offense has been a little inconsistent when they've played some tougher defenses. They haven't looked necessarily amazing, but we'll see what happens here. Cardinals, Jets. I mean, as a Jets fan, no Sam Darnold. This is easy. Even with Lev Bell back, who – I don't know how much he'll be playing. I actually had a dream last night that he would be not playing at all because I'm in fantasy. Weirdly enough, I just remembered that. So there's a little side note out there, but it should be the Cardinals by 50 here. So
Yeah. I'm really challenging David Johnson to have a big week this week.
Kenyon Drake.
Not David Johnson. Kenyon Drake. Sorry, excuse me.
Good.
Kenyon Drake has to have a big week this week.
Yeah.
He has to get 100-plus yards receiving and rushing, and he has to get 1 to 2 touchdowns. And fantasy owners, if you have Kenyon Drake, I'd hold on to him for this week. But if he doesn't produce you 17 to 22 points this week, you should just trade him away or bench him after this week.
Yeah, I got kind of lucky with that one. I'm trading Kenyon Drake away, but it goes through after this game, so I'm gonna have him this week. I think he's due for a big week, but Cardinals are going to win this game nonetheless against the Jets team, who's not going to be with Sam Darnold. It's going to be Joe Flacco, but then you have Lev Bell back. You're hoping you could see some things from him, hoping for a breakout, and this could be a game, his first game back from injury, where he could have a big game. But the Cardinals overall are just a better team, so I'm going to have to give them the win there.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a blowout. I mean, I'm not – I don't know what to think here, but you never know. The Jets, maybe they'll get fired up, but DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, that guy might have 20 catches, so – Eagles, Steelers, they were complaining about their kind of lack of notice about their bye. They said it was only like a 3-day bye or something like that because of they're prepping all week, and then they went home for a bit, and then they came back. But Steelers are good. They don't have any positive COVID cases, so I'm going to give the Steelers this win. I just am not sold on the Eagles yet. I feel like this Eagles offense is going to have a lot of trouble with this Steelers defense. This isn't a banged up defense like the Niners necessarily. And the Eagles offense didn't even play superb that game. Miles Sanders has kind of had a slow start to the year. So I'm going to take the Steelers here. I feel like Big Ben and co will get it done.
Yeah, I agree with you, Griff. And I think the Steelers are going to win. The NFC East will continue to be the NFC least. The Eagles won't show up. The Steelers will put up 27 points. That'll get the job done. Carson Wentz is going to have 2 picks, a fumble. It's going to all go to the wayside for the Eagles.
Yep, Steelers going to get Owen here pretty easily. Defensively, got Minka Fitzpatrick, Joe Hayden, Bud Dupree, TJ Watt, probably the defensive player of the year right now. A lot of really good players there. The Eagles did get a win last week versus the 49ers, but Wentz still not looking like himself. You do have some injuries at the receiver position, and Steelers have been playing well with James Conner, Benny Snell. They got some good running backs there. So this could be a tough week for the Eagles, but we're going to have to see how things turn out.
Rams, Washington, staying in the NFC least, as Gerard said. I like that. Washington, we haven't really touched on that. They benched Dwayne Haskins. They moved him all the way down to third-string quarterback. And I guess, let's actually talk about that real quick since we got there. Gerard, what do you think about this move? Do you think they made it a little too soon into the season? And do you think they did the man some disrespect by sending him all the way down to the third string?
No, I don't think so. I think that Dwayne Haskins has just not been a good quarterback for his first, 12 starts as a NFL quarterback. I think that Alex Smith deserves his chance to be on the field. He worked back from that injury. He should be the second-string quarterback. If Dwayne Haskins was the second-string quarterback, it just creates drama on the team, I feel. So him moving down to the third-string quarterback, I don't mind that move. I don't think the Redskins have any chance in this game. This is my lock of the week. I got the Rams big, maybe like a 31-10 score. And, yeah.
Yeah, so the thing for me is, I see why you would maybe be putting him to third string. It's a good move for now, but I'm just not sure how it's going to pan out for the future. By no means is Kyle Allen the quarterback of the future. You're not sure how Alex Smith is going to be. So Dwayne Haskins or someone else is going to have to be the quarterback of the future. He's young. Ron Rivera said he hasn't given up on Dwayne Haskins, but it kind of feels like that if you're moving him right down to third string, to the third string QB. I think it's more of just not having a team around him that could really help him more than it is him. Although he is struggling, I feel like he just needs a few more pieces offensively that can help him develop and learn, because there's no way you're going to learn or develop into being a great quarterback if you have literally no one outside of Terry McLaurin right now. But here for this game, the Rams definitely should be able to get a big, big win.
Yeah, I agree. I think, there's part of me that's obviously, an Ohio State fan. So I root for Dwayne. I want to see the best for him, but he's not panned out so far. He's not looked great, but I just found the move a little disrespectful. He didn't even have one of his worst weeks this week. I mean, he threw for 300 or so yards against the Ravens, who are a great football team. So I feel like it seems like the decision was almost made ahead of time that he was going to be benched after this week. It doesn't seem like he really even had a chance, because to me, this wasn't a performance where he was turning over the ball. I mean, he obviously had that stupid play where on 4th and goal, he threw like a little out route or something like that to like the 5 or whatever, but whatever. I mean, you can't really do much. We've seen his connection with McLaurin, which is going to be good. I feel like McLaurin might honestly, people have said, Kyle Allen will get him the ball. I feel like McLaurin could regress him a little bit. I mean, we've seen a great connection from him. Dwayne Haskins really trusted him a lot. I mean, who knows? It seems like Ron Rivera just wanted to give his boy Kyle Allen another chance. He liked him last year. I think Kyle Allen is nothing special. I think they've moved on now from Dwayne Haskins. So they're really going to be in the draft for a quarterback. I guess Trey Lance. I mean, I don't think they'd go another Ohio State boy. I don't think they're going to be bad enough to get Trevor. So I guess Trey Lance might be the future quarterback of this team. But yeah, easy for me to agree with you to agree here with you boys and say that the Rams are going to pick up a big win here. Dolphins, Niners. Gerard, I'll start with you. What are you thinking?
I think that sorry about the printer. I think that the Dolphins will hang in this game.
Yep.
And although they're going to hang in it, at the end, the 49ers run game is too good. Jimmy G is coming back. I think they're going to hang in, but I think in the end, Robbie Gould kick a game winner, 23-20 49ers.
I'm going to go with the 49ers also. Earlier, before we knew Garoppolo and Mostert were coming back, this is a game where I could see the Dolphins winning. But now that Garoppolo and Mostert are back, it has to be a 49ers win. I don't see it going any other way. I mean, the only reason I could see the Dolphins winning this is that the injuries affect how Garoppolo and Mostert play, just maybe not having that connection because they barely played any games in the season thus far. And maybe just kind of missing with the connection that them and the receivers or whatever it may be is having, that could be the only reason I see the 49ers somehow losing. But this is the 49ers all the way.
I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins here. I'm going to go for a bit of a shocker. I don't know. The Dolphins, I believe they're 1-3. Yeah, I mean, they've just played good football. They played good football last week against the Seattle Seahawks. They were in that game the whole time. And to me, I mean, this game is away, so I feel like the Dolphins do play better for sure in Miami. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, I feel like he will go out there, have a solid game. This 49ers defense is still very banged up. The run game for the Dolphins really isn't too much. Myles Gaskin isn't anything too special, I would say. But I don't know. I just feel like they're going to get some weird things. I don't know. I'm getting some vibes that this defense might get some stops or something like that. But I don't know. We'll have to see. But my gut, I can't really explain it too much, but my gut's telling me that Miami is going to get the job done. Well, your two teams now going against each other. The Giants, obviously, Gerard's team, the Cowboys, obviously Mac's team. I'll start with you boys, and then I'll go for mine. Gerard, I think we know who you're picking, but want to give us your reasoning here?
Well, I'm going to pick the New York Football Giants to come out, play a good football game, but they won't get it done. We all know the Giants are going to get it done today. The Giants, I'm really just looking forward to Danny Jones putting up good numbers this week, trying to limit the turnovers. I want to see him go upwards this week, not downwards. I want to see 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. I want to see the defense play well, but in the end, I think the Giants will hang in there, but the Cowboys team is on paper, the Cowboys team is too much better than the Giants team. Cowboys have got a close win. I think 35, 24, 27 will be the final score.
Yep, I'm going to go with my Dallas Cowboys as well, but honestly, I won't be mad either way, because if we lose, that may be the firing of Mike Nolan, honestly, and I'd be pretty happy with that. But then a lot of good could come if we win. This could be a game used for momentum, especially defensively. Could you get some turnovers just to give the momentum? I think that's the main thing, the momentum and effort right now on defense, because you do have some names there, but you're just not able to get it done. And I think one big play, this is kind of a team that you're looking at, maybe we could get a big play that could start leading to more in the next and upcoming weeks. So this is a big game for the Cowboys either way. I'd be happy with whatever the outcome is, but the Cowboys offense is too good, and I think that's what's gonna ultimately decide this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dallas here as well. I feel like they're just clearly the better team here. The Giants have just looked terrible. I mean, there's no way of putting it. Not as bad as the Jets, but they've been probably right there, second worst team potentially. Just doesn't seem like they're getting the job done. Devontae Freeman, I did like the steps he took last week. I felt like, he did at times look pretty solid and looked like he might even have a role a little bit as a passing in the passing game. So we'll see if they can incorporate him a little more into the offense. But other than that, the Giants have just not looked too good. And I think we're going to see potentially a shootout. Well, not a shootout, but the Cowboys, it always seems like this offense is going to make things high scoring. And I just don't think this Giants offense and Danny Dimes is going to be able to keep up with the boys here. So I'm going to give the Cowboys the win. But, I mean, you never know with the Cowboys defense. Daniel Jones could throw for 700 yards, 20 touchdowns, and, have the greatest game in NFL history. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to take the Cowboys. Colts Browns, interesting game here. Obviously, both teams are 3-1. So this is a really nice step for someone here to get a good head start to really get a nice push for the playoffs. Gerard, what are you liking here?
So this matchup is a very, very intriguing matchup for me. Is Phillip Rivers going to show up, lead the Colts to a win? Or is Baker Mayfield going to continue to build off last week and lead the Browns to a win? I think that Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, and Austin Hooper is just going to be too much for that Colts defense to handle. The Colts defense, yes, they are ranked number 1 right now, but if they had beaten teams like the Bears, the Jets, and the Texans maybe? So they have not really played the best competition.
I think that they lost to the Jags, and then let's see what they played. They played the Vikings.
Oh, they beat the Vikings. The Vikings, the Jets,
and then the Bears, yeah.
So they have not played the best competition. The combined record of those teams is not very good. The Bears are good, but the rest of those teams are not very good. So I think that the Browns will come out, get a victory. I think that offense will just be too much to handle for the defense. I think it will be a close game. I think it'll be something like 21-17 Browns.
Yep. Browns, I'm going to go with you once again with this. The Browns looked great last week, and I think this is going to be a game where they're just using their momentum from last week versus the Dallas Cowboys. They did very well offensively. I would have liked to see Baker Mayfield get a little bit more involved, try and prove that he is going to be the quarterback of the Browns for the foreseeable future. Browns should be able to get it done. I'm not expecting Jonathan Taylor to have a big game or T.Y. Hilton. So offensively for the Colts, I'm kind of thinking they're going to be struggling this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go Browns here too. I mean, obviously, the Cleveland in me with my parents or my dad being from Ohio. Obviously, it's been exciting to watch the Browns this year. And I've really loved, I mean, I'll touch on this. I love Kevin Stefanski and what he's doing. I think he's the perfect fit for a coach. And he's not making Baker Mayfield just throw. And I think that's the key. He's using the Browns' strength, which is their run game. He's running the ball a lot. We've seen them use obviously the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt duo. And then even last week, Dearness Johnson came in and was tearing up the Cowboys defense. And he's playing to their strengths, and he's running a lot of play action, which I think is good because we saw Baker Mayfield get in spots last year where he's throwing the ball too much. They're not playing their strengths, and it just didn't work out well. He turned the ball over too much. And now we're seeing him not feel the pressure to throw the ball too much. He doesn't even have to throw for 200 yards in a game, and they're still scoring 49 points. So I really love what they're doing. I think Kevin Stefanski has done a great job. He's going to be the coach of this team for the foreseeable future. And I'm going to take a big Browns win here. I like what they're doing offensively, and I think it'll continue this week against the Indianapolis Colts. Vikings Seahawks. Last year, I believe they played primetime last year too at some point in Seattle. So kind of a rematch of that, I guess. I'm going to go Seahawks here. I don't think this is going to be too close. The Vikings defense has not been necessarily the best in the NFL. So I think Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are going to torch this Vikings secondary.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, Griffin. Kirk Cousins is scared of the big moment. He's scared of the lights. Russell Wilson's going to dominate. The Seahawks are going to win this one big.
Yep, agreeing with you guys there. Pretty simple. You got DK and Tyler Lockett there, and then Chris Carson, too, who's also one of the top backs in the league, definitely top 10, going against Dalvin Cook, one of the top 5 best running backs in the league. But offensively, Vikings are going to have a big day. I think this is going to end up being a shootout, but the Seahawks just overall are a much better team, so I'm going to give this to the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks are the clear favorite. They've been playing really well, and I think they'll continue this week. Now we move on to a little, I guess, weird Monday at 5 p.m. I didn't know this was actually a 5 p.m. game. That's really interesting. I don't know, school that day. Sweet. I guess It's Columbus Day, I believe. So I guess people will be able to watch. So that's probably the reasoning for the 5 p.m. start. But Broncos, Pats, we've seen them rescheduled. Obviously, Stephon Gilmore now tests positive for the coronavirus, which is a big worry for the Chiefs, obviously, as they just played them. Hopefully, Pat Mahomes is going to be okay. We obviously saw that post-game exchange, as well as the other receivers that were being guarded by Stephon Gilmore. Those guys shouldn't go unnoticed just because Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. The Broncos, Pats are, they don't got Cam. They go, it's Stephon Gilmore, probably their 2 best players. Gerard, what are you thinking for this one? Do you think the Pats can withstand those COVID cases and get the job done?
Well, as we all know, Monday's Christopher Columbus Day. Christopher Columbus found America. The Patriots were people that fought for America. The Patriots will win this game big.
70% of the earth is covered by water. The other 30% is covered by Stephon Gilmore. So I got to go with the Broncos here. The Patriots without Gilmore and Cam, probably the 2 best players on the team right now. I don't see them winning. Broncos, of course, they do have some backups there, but the Broncos, I think, are going to be a better team this week and should be able to get a win here.
You guys are putting pressure on me to come up with something funny. Jesus. Let's think. Well, let me check something, because if this person is playing, I do think they'll get the W. Drew Lock, we don't know if he's going to play, but, the lock in this game depends on the Lockster himself, the Drew Locky Lock. So I think if Drew Lock plays, I think the Broncos get this W, but regardless, the Broncos are getting the W because the Patriots, they are on Christopher Columbus Day. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm trying to just come up with something. I'm just not doing too well right now. So I'm just gonna stop talking. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give the Broncos the win. I feel like the Pats, they will feel the repercussions of no Stephon Gilmore, and obviously no Cam will kill him. Maybe Sexy Rexy can get some action. Hopefully we'll see Sexy Rexy get to work. Chargers, Saints, no Eckler. I don't know if Marshawn Lattimore is back on the field this week. Michael Thomas might play. That could be a huge question mark. So, yeah. Gerard, what are you thinking here? Do you got any fun phrases to use here for this one?
This game is not anyone that's going to use fun phrases. The game might be played in Indianapolis, they said, because of the hurricanes in New Orleans. I don't know if that's actually happening or not. So if that is, New Orleans has to praying for New Orleans, but I think that New Orleans is going to get a big win this week. Alvin Kamara is going to be too much for the Chargers defense to handle. And with no Austin Eckler, it's not going to be close.
Yep. Should be a Saints win. I think it could end up being close, actually. If the Chargers had Austin Eckler, I actually may give him the win. But Saints, due to the fact that we're unsure if Michael Thomas is playing or not, I'm just going to assume he's not playing. I'm still going to give him a win here. Their defense, they do have some big names there. Got to produce a little bit more, hoping that they get the third one of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to agree here. I'm going to go Saints. You just feel like they got the offense going a little bit last week against the Detroit Lions, and I feel like they'll be able to play pretty solid here this week. Drew Brees is starting to get it going. Once he gets his big boy Michael Thomas back, I feel like we'll see him start to have a little more success even. So I'm liking the Saints here. Like you boys said, Bills, Titans, this game is probably still up in the air. We've seen a lot of controversy surrounding this Tennessee Titans team. They held a workout while their team was supposed to quarantine. Very, very bad decision that should be looked upon by those players. That really cannot go unexcused if we want to have an NFL season. But Bills, Titans, if they do play, for me at least, I think the Bills are going to win this. The Titans have been in and out of practice for 2 weeks. They're going to be missing a lot of guys. To me, it's going to be a big Bills win, and I think that the Titans have really just screwed themselves over by holding this workout, and more guys get it, and then the facility shut down. So Tuesday Night Football, that should be a fun one, but I don't think the game's going to be pretty fun for the Tennessee Titans. I think this is going to be a blowout potentially. I love the way Josh Allen's playing, so Buffalo for me.
Yeah, Josh Allen is way too hot right now to cool down enough. I know the Titans defense is good with Jadeveon Clowney coming off the edge. I think the way that the Titans stay in this game is kind of the way they beat the Patriots and the Ravens last year. You're going to have to feed Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is going to have to absolutely go off. They're going to have to control the time they have the ball. They're going to have to keep that Buffalo defense on the field for as much time as possible for them to win this game. But in the end, I don't see it happening. I'm taking the Bills in a close one, but Josh Allen's going to find a way to win.
Yep, going to be a Bills win here. If they play or if they don't play, we heard that the Titans, they may end up having to forfeit these games, the games that they can't play, so it'll be an automatic loss. And I think either way, no matter what happens, it's going to be a loss for the Titans. Bills going to get the win here. Stephon Diggs has been playing amazing. Him helping Josh Allen be probably a top 2 MVP candidate right now. It's just insane. Their offense is absolutely amazing, blowing the top off of all of these defenses. And then their defense at Oliver, of course, Tre'Davious White, probably the second best corner in the NFL right now. They're locking down. This will be a big Bills win. Bills are one of the best teams in the league right now, and I'm excited to see what they got in the future.
Yeah, for sure. It should be interesting to see what happens in Buffalo. Well, that does it for our game recaps of the week. So we'll see what we can get right there. It should be interesting to see, but I think a lot of agreement there from most of us. I mean, there was a little dispute early on. Jags, Texans. Mac picked the Jags. But other than that, I'm trying to figure out. I guess I went Dolphins here, but other than that, it was pretty and Broncos Pats too. But other than that, it was pretty unanimous. Should be interesting to see what happens this week with the NFL. Anything else you boys want to talk about?
Throw us to Gerard. We got the guests. Anything you want?
If you guys want to go a little bit of college football, I'm looking at that game tonight with Clemson and Miami. I think that Miami may step up to the occasion tonight.
Ooh.
Knock down the top dogs and knock down Trevor Lawrence. If they can dominate possession, I think they have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with you there too. They're the seventh ranked team right now. Obviously, they've been playing amazing. Clemson has been playing amazing though. However, too, you have Trevor Lawrence, one of the best QB prospects ever. Really, probably him and Andrew Luck are probably the two best that we've ever seen, as well. Well, in regard to them being NFL prospects, this could be a great game. I do think Clemson will get the win, but Miami's going to keep it close. I'm excited to see what they got.
I'm excited for this one, and straight up off the reason that Trevor Lawrence is going to have to play a real competitor in the regular season. I mean, these past few years, he's just played like terrible teams, and I think this is really what he needs. He needs a hard schedule. I mean, you look at guys in the what is it? I believe it's the SEC, right? Am I correct? I'm bad with. I think it's the SEC, right? With that super hard. Yeah. I'm bad with the conferences, but the one with Alabama, LSU, everyone knows what we're talking about. But he's had easy schedule. He's playing like teams. His best team that he's playing is like Virginia. But this is a team, 7th ranked team in the nation. They're going to come out strong. I've become a hater on Trevor Lawrence. I hate the guy after that Ohio State loss last year. I can't wait to see Ohio State back on the field. But a lot of college good football today. Georgia, Tennessee, another good game. We'll see what happens with Georgia. They obviously had a big win over, I believe it was Auburn last week. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. LSU has struggled to start the year. Oklahoma, now not even ranked. Spencer Rattler's really not gotten the job done. What do you boys think about that? I mean, Oklahoma coming straight from the college football playoff, and now they're not even ranked. They've lost the first two. I mean, what do you say about that?
That's insane, man. Of course, you did lose CeeDee Lamb, and then now you don't have Jalen Hurts there, so you're relying on Spencer Rattler starting his first year. What show is he on? Because I remember I was watching that one show where they
QB1, right?
QB1, yeah. So I was watching that. He looked good. He seemed like he was one of the better quarterbacks there, and him not being able to produce right now and making them unranked just kind of surprised me. But of course, losing CeeDee Lamb and not really having any superstar weapons there is going to hurt the team no matter what happens. So no matter what, I'm really surprised by Oklahoma as a whole.
Yeah, I'm very shocked. I thought Oklahoma was going to come back just as good as they were last year, but they clearly have shown that they have not done that. Spencer Rattler has shown that he is not. He's been playing well. You can't say Spencer Rattler's not been playing well. He's been playing all right. They've scored a lot of points, but that defense is just absolutely atrocious, and they've been giving up so many points. They gave up over 30 points to Kansas State, I believe.
Yeah.
And then whoever they just played last week, they gave up over 30 points again. That defense has been atrocious. They need to figure it out if they want to have any shot at a bowl game or a big bowl game this year.
Yeah, it's been a really rough start to the season for Oklahoma, and I just don't think there's really much they can do besides get that defense going, especially when you're a top team like that. You got to be scoring, and you got to be scoring and not giving up points. I mean, that's really the key. We saw a lot of top teams already lose from last year. I mean, LSU already gone, Oklahoma already gone. So we'll see what happens. One thing I've really liked is Alabama's looked pretty solid. Mac Jones has kind of proved, we saw him at times last year when Tua Tagovailoa was injured, but it's good to see him getting the start doing pretty well. And the number 1 ranked team, Clemson, like we said, plays tonight against Miami. So that's a big game. And we'll see if Trevor Lawrence seems he does step up in the majority of the time in the spotlight. But we'll see what he can do tonight. I mean, this is a real challenge for him already early in the season against a top ranked team. So we'll see what happens there.
Yep. I'm not sure if you guys want to quickly talk about this game, and that's the Texas A&M game and the Florida game, especially Texas A&M, 21st first ranked team right now. They got smacked by Alabama last week, 52-24, but still ranked 21st, and they're going up against Florida. What do you guys think about that game?
You can go, Gerard.
All right. I think this game is going to be a big implication in the college football playoffs. You got a lot of teams fighting for 5 spots this year, and especially with an only conference schedule, these games are important. I think Florida comes out today and absolutely dominates. I'm really buying into Florida. Florida looks like they're a good team, and I think their offense can put up numbers. Their defense can stop people. I think Florida wins big today.
Yeah, I think it should be really interesting to see what happens with Florida. They've been playing fairly well so far. We've seen Kyle Trask, the QB, in his last game, put up some pretty solid numbers. So I've really liked what he's been doing for them, and they're playing good football. There's no really way around that. We saw him play Mississippi week 1. Kyle Trask, 416 yards, 6 touchdowns. So that's a guy who's getting the job done. He's not turning the ball over, and their defense is pretty solid. They did give up 35 points that game, but that's all right when you're blowing teams out. So I agree with Gerard. That game kicks off an hour and 40 minutes from now. So when you're seeing this podcast, it will be decided. But that said, it will be interesting to see. I think Florida will get the job done. They've been playing pretty well, a well-coached team, and then we'll see them play LSU and then Georgia in about a month. So that'll be interesting. Really tough schedule for these teams. So this is the conference I was talking about. And, they're going to be constantly playing ranked teams. So it'll be interesting to see. And, yeah, that does it, I think, for our college football, right?
Yeah. Is there anything else you guys are interested in talking about real quick?
We got everything that I wanted to talk to.
All right. I guess I could wrap it up then. So, everyone, go make sure to follow all 3 of us on Instagram. My Instagram is mac.rommel. Griffin's Instagram is
Griffin Senek. And Gerard's Instagram is
G.Garofolo.
And then everyone, make sure to go follow our podcast on Instagram at Outside the Arena Podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be sure to drag someone outside the arena next week.